People, yeah.
There'll be time after.
Yeah.
Four.
It's like that. Make sure he stays out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. We're on. We got the slides. Thanks everyone for coming. So this is where a workshop to discuss the submissions really is what we're going on. We've got a gallery in, which is fantastic. Thanks everyone for coming. I will just remind you that it is not interactive. It is a watching, purely viewing process in the gallery, but I do appreciate all being here, so thank you very much. If you could bring up the slides.
Yep.
Shona, so what I've done here, so I hope you've all read them, councillors, because this is my point of view, this is the administration's point of view, and I'm hoping that there would be some pushback on some of it as well. It's not all just me. So I've been through them all. I've distinguished them down to probably 18 different reasons why people are were against it, and a few more people that were for it. I then distill that into themes, and the themes and the number of each submission within that theme is what we'll be discussing today. So I won't be bringing up any specific submissions, but it'll be the submissions as a whole, and if you wanted to view them all, they're all online and in the agenda. So if you go next, Shona, so total submissions we received, 98, so 90 against the proposal, 8 for the proposal, and then you can see the breakdown of where the submissions came from. 93% from Lameroo, which is completely to be expected, and then a few from elsewhere. So if we go next, so I told you that I distilled them down into 18 concerns, I would say, and I've got them all there, and I will go through them all in a minute if you don't all if you can't all read them and distill them there, but insufficient time. Worried about the main streets, Lameroo's the centre of the district, all of that sort of stuff, all the way down to one person mentioning about reduced access to council leadership. So if you go to the next. So theme 1, and throughout the public consultation meetings, I think this one came through pretty strongly, and you can see that we had 51 mentions of insufficient time, and then the lack of transparency that was felt throughout that. So the main, what people were saying within this theme is consultation period felt too short, felt rushed, felt why are you throwing it all this on us now? People wanted more detail earlier, and then the desire for longer deliberation. So we've definitely taken that on board, and the workshop questions that I wanted to pose to you all now is, was the consultation adequate? Should it be extended or repeated? Any learnings from it that we should do differently next time? Is there, and I'll take any questions and what have you there. So one thing I will add, if I can just jump in first, I know I'll ask questions and I'm going to keep talking, but I will just add that we've done the legislated 21 days, but I don't think we need to use that as a crutch, and I think there is opportunity to extend it longer because of, you can see from the weight of the submissions. The learnings from it about the lack of transparency and the insufficient time, I think the learnings that I took out of it were maybe some more deliberation first, I think, about the information that's released. I tried to get as much information out as possible, but that sort of came back quite strongly that it was still needed more, but that'll come up more in the future there. So is there any other comments on the timing and the process?
Bad time of the year was one thing for sure.
Yeah,
and a letter drop to all people. Because
Yes.
not everyone's electronic.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
You'll be thinking about doing that for the next round. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I'd be hesitant making a decision tonight. I think we need minimum another 21 days.
Yeah, I will add as well that in a workshop, sorry, this is for everyone in the gallery, no decisions are made in workshops. So only decisions. So whatever's mentioned here, and if it sounds like a decision, it's not a decision until it goes through the chamber. So until a formal motion is put through. But yeah, sorry, Kim.
I think it was, I also got fairly strongly that even though there was a lot of data and you'd made a whole new section to the website, that I guess we felt provided a lot of information. It wasn't in a method or an accessibility to people where they were able to access all that information. Because reading the submissions, there was a lot of questions, even some assumptions in there that were clearly answered in that material, but the material either hadn't been accessed or hadn't been consumed in the way that it was intended. So I think we need to figure out why that was and how can that be done better, because you can't print out, it's pretty impractical to print out 100 pages of stuff that's not going to get consumed either. So it's trying to find the balance between those two things.
That's right.
Yeah.
Something like this, this has got nothing to do with it.
Not expensive and colourful like that.
Yeah, but something like this that had all the information for everyone to digest, I think would have been.
It didn't get from where you thought it sat nicely, and we looked at it and went, "Oh, look at that! That's so much better than before." But realistically, it wasn't better for the people; it was better for us.
Yeah. Anyone else want to mention anything about the process? I will add about the extending of the time, the process. We will have to, and that's on me because of my misreading of the revocation report. So the revocation report needs to go out for 21 days, and that wasn't on the website or anything. So we need to go out again for 21 days at least as minimum. With the revocation report, so you can see, and that's got
Revocation.
the revocation report is the formal report about what's going on about the revocation of the community title. So it's got the portions of land and the pictures and it's all of that's there. So
I've got it's a difficulty because we're in a workshop, we're not in the meeting. So in the meeting, I've got a proposed recommendation change that I want to put because I don't like either of the recommendations that are on the agenda, but I'm not sure that it's right that I should read it out here, but it's very pertinent to what we're talking about, but it also feels like it's right at the start. I can almost like you to present what it is that you've gained from this and gleaned from this.
we can bring that up.
Because I'm really not sure where the footing is because we're not here to make a decision. That's tonight.
Yeah.
And so putting a recommendation, having said that, the recommendations are printed in the agenda. So I don't think I'll be doing anything wrong if I did put forward that. And it doesn't mean it gets accepted anyway. It needs to be moved and seconded to become the recommendation, but it directly feeds into timing and decisions and the whole.
Yeah, my thinking is 21 days is not long enough, especially like Christmas, New Year's.
Yeah.
People going on holidays.
That's right.
Is there a maximum time you've got to have?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, in theory, of course, there is. Yeah.
Minimum time by the look of
Don't
it, but yeah.
Put it out for 10 years, but yeah, it's 21 minimum. Yeah. So if we've got nothing more on the timing and the process, it seems like it's pretty. Yeah. So this is another important one, and I feel one that I've got real empathy for. It came through quite strongly, that fear of another disused Main Street building. And well, the community sentiment there, you can see it. Concern that the building may become vacant, deteriorate or reduce Main Street appeal. And there's a real desire for activation, not stagnation in the Main Street. So people want the Main Street to flourish. And it was seen as that us leaving it and leaving it in the hands of Safecom, it may be empty. So the considerations I've got there is that it actually does prevent the vacancy. And again, it's really, I'll get onto the CFS and the Safecom stuff. I've got that as a theme later on. But the risk remains strong and emotional about it. So I want to put it out there. Whilst I have distilled it down to figures here, I don't want everything just to be about the figures. This is about feeling as well, and this is about how the community feels about their main street and their town. And I think it's really important to make that distinction, that not everything can be distilled down into numbers and data, and especially for something as emotive as this. So workshop questions I've got there. How can SafeCom better articulate the activation benefit? Now, they threw it to us, I think, before the last public consultation meeting. They said, well, the council chambers, you can use that if you want. And then that was it. Then they just sort of dropped and ran, and we didn't get any further information on that. So to get some sort of articulation on what can be used, and will council be in charge of the hiring and not of that? Will an economic impact assessment assist? I believe so. And what design or usage commitments could be sought? So what can we reach out to SafeCom to say, hey, what are you doing with it? Can we see some plans? Can we present some plans? Can we give some better assurance about the activation of the main street, and that the building will not just be walked out and then left to rot? Anyone want to jump in there?
I reached out to SafeCom to find out through CFS, just to ask the question, because it was raised at the meeting, and I'd suggested that they had verbally said that because their plans had changed and that the chamber would be a training centre that would be used in emergencies, but its main focus was going to be training. And they said so the community could have use of it. So I've asked them, can they clarify what that means? And threw something out, because you and I had met with CWA, which we said we would do, and in talking about buildings, and not just because of CFS, but also the condition of that building and the safety of it and so on. And in that meeting, there was a discussion about, could it be, not should it be or will it be, but could it be a home for the CWA if that's what they wanted to do? Amongst other things, I'm not saying only that. So I asked that question, and the question was that end of the building could absolutely, and so that end being the chamber, could absolutely be used for public use whilst there's not an emergency, and whilst they don't have a training session booked, and council could control that and have access control of that. And if that was to be the home, for instance, of CWA, they didn't see any issue with that. Now that's verbal. I don't have that was a phone call where I just wanted to try and get some more information. And that's the information I got. Now we would obviously want to seek some written clarity about that. But that's, so usage is something they very much see, and they meaning the government, not so much CFS, but through CFS, they see it as a public space that can be utilised by all, including them. And they had an emergency or an incident, not just fire, but whether it be a pandemic or whatever, they take right away. But other than that, can be planned to use.
Where would they draw the line? Would they have a men's shed group in there or stuff like that? Or
I don't know.
That's what we've got to know. But
I think you just we need it for this hour.
Yeah. Are you? What about we're going to bring out later about the lawns and all the gardens? Who's going to maintain that in a proper state?
Yeah, the council will be doing the gardens, especially at the back, because it's all our land. Yeah,
but all the front though, from the footpath to the building. We're going to do all that themselves too.
Well, not necessarily. However, this in the SARS contract, this can be. We can put stipulations in the SARS contract too.
Yeah, I think we've got to get a lot more clarity.
That's right.
On them, what's going to happen?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I guess I like with this proposal that currently the former dentist office is an empty derelict building, and that this proposal would mean that the CFS would go in there and something's being used in that building. So I never wanted to get rid of the dentist. I thought that was a shame the community lost that, but it's gone. There's no point crying over spilt milk. So now effectively utilising that building, I think, would be a very good community asset, so that there are not vacant buildings on the street then.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, we just need to be clear about that. And the problem is, which come through, this is 30% of the submissions mention this, or something like this. We need to be clear, and we haven't been clear with us. But it hasn't been clear to us, so therefore we haven't been able to be clear about what the building means and what's going to be happening in it. And it changed halfway through the process as well.
Yeah. some wrong information has been sent out there, because I'm pretty sure the CFS building itself is owned by the council. We leased to the CFS for $1 a year, and even the sheds, I'm not sure if we own them or whether the CFS paid money towards it, because I know one shed got built and we had to go and buy the land, so the shed was on our land, because I'm pretty sure we own all that stuff as it is, and in the stuff in the papers there, it says that the CFS actually owned it, but the council owned the whole lot till the government said they own all the fire trucks, and they took everything off us, you see. And
To be fair, how many times have paper been right?
well, yeah, probably true. Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, it's something. Some old councillors may remember who actually owned it when it was put there.
Council still owns it.
They do, yes.
Yeah.
So,
All the
And I
building.
think, even though this is specifically about disused buildings, is the concern, but I think for clarity, we need to make sure that we clearly understand there are two separate pieces to this. The CFS Lameroo station is one piece, and that's the old dentist building, and that's the expansion which they need to do, one more bay and potentially a 2-truck drive-through station. That's Lameroo Fire Station. The incident response centre for the office building is incident response through Safecom, not CFS singularly. So it's not just about, is there a fire coming through? It's about, is there a pandemic response? Is there a whatever, a whole myriad of things. And yes, fire is one of them, but they are two purposes for the buildings, because the station won't be using anything to do with the office. That's purely emergency response.
because as some people said, it only gets used once every 10 years. It's probably true, because 2006, when the fire went through in Arcat, they had a whole heat shaft there. And when the fire went through, that's when they come there. But before that, they're hardly ever there. It's only those big incidents where there's a big fire threatening the whole district that
There was a big incident in 21, I think, 24.
The way I've always seen it, it's better
And that's
looking
where
at.
they were looking. My understanding is that Safecom is talking about the bigger picture and the fact that when they've reviewed with the cross-border stuff of what happened throughout the pandemic, not saying there's going to be another one, but in their preparations, my understanding is they've highlighted that this is the area, as we said previously, that can be a response to many things, not just fire. But that's not about a disused building. That's just more about the functionality. There's a lot of focus on singular use.
Yeah. So that's just what I was told by Shane.
I'm assuming it's the same, if not.
No, it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, servicing. Yeah,
that's what I was told by government.
11 brigades and making it a training hub is what the second bit is that you were just mentioning from Safecom. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So your next theme. So Lameroo is a district centre. Again, this came through pretty strongly. That there is Lameroo's in the middle, so the office should be in the middle. And you can see I've got the other, because we asked for alternate ideas as well. So I've popped that in. I've popped those in where they relate to a specific theme. So you can see the alternate ideas there is to keep everything as it is. You know, sell the Pinaroo office and all staff at Lameroo. So underlying views that came through: primary office belongs in Lameroo, historical, cultural and geographic arguments. The only comment I've got on the office being at the centre is I absolutely believe that we need our operations to be in the centre. That's where diesel, that's where being able to access within 50 Ks. I think we did those stats, didn't we? It was within, so it was 80% within 50 Ks from Lameroo, and then there was only 30% from Pinaroo. So I absolutely believe that. However, with the way we're going, especially since COVID, where we are as the back office, so not who people talk to, because I absolutely believe we need to have customer facing in each town. I'm not, but where we act as the back office, I think shouldn't matter as much. I believe the CEO should live in the district, but other than that, I think there is yeah, so we've got comments on that. So you can see I've got a couple of discussion questions there. If there's anything else, is there? I've got the services coming up. I think it might even be next, so we can discuss the service and what we should put out and what we should, I don't want to say decide, but about the service level.
Do we have the usage statistics for how many people actually go into the offices?
Not yet. No.
There is something
We
about
can.
having that building there in the centre of, on the main street, in the centre of town, it's sort of very public and like a civic sort of pride thing. That's something we should take into account. It's not just about money, but
No one mentioned that the centre of that, well, at head office has been here for 28 years, so maybe it's Lameroo's turn to have it for 28 years.
No, that wasn't mentioned until now. Thank you, Neville.
Oh, right. I just looked it up today to make sure it's right, so there you go.
So what does that mean? There's none after the next 28 years? Is that right?
Is that what we're doing? We're just going to go to childish petty games now.
No, just
You were here 28 years ago when we amalgamated.
It was here
Why
for
didn't
30.
we go to one office then?
because we had a lot of, we've tried 4 times, this is the 4th time we've tried. So, and it's not from lack of trying, because we've never been given, the last time we come up with it was a good idea, because the Heritage Centre here couldn't find people to man that voluntary. So we was going to put council workers there and sent the council down to Lameroo, but then some said, oh, it'll cost you $1 million to upgrade the Lameroo office to make it big enough. And no one really did the homework to see whether it was going to cost $1 million or whether you had to upgrade it. And that's where it fell in the hole, and after it got scrapped. So it was just get too hard a basket, and no one wants to say something. I'll tell you, you go and shut Pinaroo down, you'd have, this would be full of Pinaroo people today, not Lameroo people. So
Yeah,
and you wouldn't have
100%
Lameroo
right.
people there. So and some of the people that opposed, that said it was a good idea, it was Pinaroo people. So yeah, so it's, wherever we're going to do it, it's going to cause havoc with the whole district. So
Oh, look, my thing is with the staff. I think the staff up here have come so far ahead. It's not funny having you here, having been here, and the others down in Lameroo need that as well. Definitely need that. That's just my point of view. Especially the pushback we've had.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there's definite gains for us all to be together. Absolutely, absolutely. I can talk about, and I'm flexible, and anyone will too, flexibility and all of that sort of stuff. Soft, you might even say, is that what it is, Sharon? Flexibility and working within, but
Just the amount of work that's been
as a
done.
most-
Like it's way further up here.
of course it'll be better.
Yeah.
But, you know, I guess we're addressing these specific
That's right.
issues, so that doesn't mean that could be together in Lameroo or together in Pinaroo.
That's
Well,
I
you're right.
don't care where it is. I don't have anything on any
But I'm
buildings.
just
Really
bringing
don't
you back
care.
to what that point is saying, you know, unifying the business administration within one office doesn't, what Jason's saying is, it doesn't matter where that office is, it's having it in one office. Is the benefit. And so
It does matter that we've got customer facing in each.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can't stress that enough.
Yes.
Not
absolutely.
I love the proposal that always comes up. Why don't we sell both and build one in Perilla?
Is that right?
I don't think that would ever actually get up, but
use it for the club room. So
yeah.
Hughes is the centre, actually.
Pardon?
Hughes is actually the centre.
Okay, right. Okay. Next theme, thanks. But staff and services. So there was a bit that came through about loss of service in Lameroo. So my last comment leads into this nicely. Also staff consideration. So for the current staff having to travel, and also it was mentioned a couple of times about recruitment. Recruitment is a big it's a hard one for us, and for a lot of regional councils. Staff not located in the main street as well. So this is a little bit about the previous one about having an empty building and the activation. But I thought it's sort of more meant to be in here, and then reduced access to leadership, not being able to come in and speak to myself on a daily basis. So my interpretation of it, so that the fear of being sort of downgraded, at just being a satellite and not sort of came through. Concerns about the visibility and approachability of having staff there. So even if you don't, it's one of those things that even if you even if you don't come and visit them, it's nice to know that you can, I think, is something that I read into it. And then again, we're about the economic activity in the main street. So again here, absolutely, we should have customer-facing staff in both towns. I absolutely believe in that. We can discuss what it should be and how often and how many hours. I would say, based on the feedback we've got, we could start, and you talk about the data, we could start at 9 to 5. We really could. And then come back within, this is at the depot, sorry, start at 9 to 5 and then come back based on data and say no one visits from 9 to 11, so we'll do it from 11 till 5, 11 till 3, whatever it is, see what days it's coming through. And the other one I've got, how do we safeguard the community confidence, that we'll do that as well.
Actually, it'd be interesting to know how many country people. I live 46 kilometres away from Lameroo. I never come to Lameroo because there's nothing in the council, only council meeting. Everything's done over the internet, pay bills and that. I never use it. And it'd be interesting to know how many other country people use it, whether it's only the townies that use the office mainly or whether it's who does, because we don't, and most of us out our way never
Yeah,
come
well, my only, I get that, and if we're brutal, well, then we'd be like the banks and pull out everywhere. And if it's all profit, so we're not the banks, and we need to be able to be reached and have speak to someone in council from everyone in the district, and having an office and having customer service, a face to someone to go and talk to. I think needs to happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
There was some talk about the depot not really being very pretty, accessible, or what are you thinking? Is that a later thing, or is that now?
No, we can talk about that now.
Yeah. What are you envisaging there?
There is offices on your left when you walk in, so there'll have to be. Sorry. There's a brick building at the front, right, where everything will be around the brick building at the front. So there's offices, and we'll have a counter in the hallway as you walk in.
It's got toilets there.
It's got toilets there. Yeah.
My missus got in there with a wheelchair, so.
Yeah. We'll also
Can't see why you can't.
car park next door. The official car park.
It's meant to do it.
No, not really. Limited, really. It won't be much. It's most, like desks cost a lot nowadays, really, is what it's coming to. And organising the pad for the and the feet for the hut to come across as well, for being an extra meeting space there.
Do you address the ones that challenge the figures in that?
Yeah,
you do.
Yeah,
okay.
I do.
Just that'll come out in there then, because that's got the figures and all that. Because there were some who just disbelief of the figures and did mistrust of the figures that administration has put together.
Yeah.
So if that comes up, that's good.
Yeah.
Now, there has been a lot of comments that they do that and people have put in submissions that there is still a required Main Street presence. Are there any other buildings in Lameroo that are currently empty that could be used for that? Or is there an option that we could even utilise the Lameroo building for a reception area even after we've sold it?
I don't know. And again, this is where Safecom just gone, hey, you can do this if you want, and given us nothing else. So we don't really know what we've got access to. But I mean, we've got, you talk about the Heritage Society we had here. We've got the same at the Westpac building there too.
Is that building in good nick, or is it?
No, of course it is.
Yeah.
Just from an OH&S perspective, though, I mean, one of the concerns that was brought up by previous CEOs, and I think Jason, since he's been here, is that there are often times where there's one person in the office, and by today's standards, you're not meant to have one person in an office by themselves.
Yeah.
So if that's happening and you're creating a space where only one person can be, part of the benefit of it being at the other place was that there's work activity and people being based there. So it's part of their role, not their singular role. And so that was not saying that can't happen. It's not a good idea. It's just there are workabilities about that. And you then have all the IT. They have to have access to the same IT and all that sort of stuff. So part of those savings is about not having that exposure to those twin systems.
That's a fair comment.
Yeah.
So the IT system there at the depot is active.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So we would just,
If you recall,
two or three people just plugging into that. Yeah.
if you recall, there was back in the previous budget workshops, there was $80,000 or $100,000 or something to be spent to upgrade Lameroo's servers or whatever it was.
Yes.
And there was a pin put in that pending whatever outcome, if there was going to be an outcome, because at that stage there'd been no outcome. So it's those kinds of things.
Here's the one. So costings provided, there was doubt that we could do what we said we could do. So the operational savings not enough or insignificant. So people will say, why would you sell it? It's not enough per year to save. People mentioned we'd already spent a lot of money on the office, and I think that's a valid response too, because it's not what we've done. Sale price not enough, only came through sort of a little bit, and then we shouldn't sell to pay down debt, which I think the mayor's been pretty strong. We won't be doing that. That's not the. This is financial confidence is an important factor influencing acceptance of the proposal. So, what's missing? What do we need to provide? And what can also we get an economic impact assessment to specifically address as well, is what I would pose to you now. I pose it to you. I've done it again. I pose it to you, and then I could.
You better say, we're not here to make a decision, so you should be talking. So you're suggesting that an economic impact assessment independent would be advisable?
I think the independence, has been brought up a few times in conversations with myself. I will add about the costings that we provided in regards to the movement of the offices and what have you, and how much this would cost. And you can look around here. All the hard work's already been done in here. It's all the money's already been spent. And what happens in here is just it is dead set desks and electrical and data coming from the ceiling. It's already put through the ceiling for this. It's not, we don't have to dig trenches or pull up floors or anything like that. So again, the dearest thing is getting 8 desks in here. The movement and new toilet block, all of those costings, people challenged. We got that from I can't remember what they were called, but it's a company that actually provides toilets, and said this is what we're doing. What's it going to cost? Yeah, supplier. I can't remember what it's called. I could look it up. So
Steel and washrooms.
Stella Waterhouse. There you go. Yeah, and they do this sort of thing a lot. So that's and it looks nice and modern and lovely. It's not some temporary donga just sitting there in the main street. It's actually looks good. And that was all the costings based. They said this is what it would cost. Here it is to do this, and there's councils usually do this. You should do that as well. When all of our electrical and sewage is right out the back of the office, which is still ours. So it's just us digging trenches into there and connecting it. It's not like we're having to put in huge long bits of pipe and recreating anything. So that's what that was on. Operational savings not enough is an interesting one. But yeah, I'm happy to hear anyone's thoughts on it and any questions I can answer. Or
I'll just say with the sale price, I think some people get their head in the clouds with sale price, because I think everyone who wants to sell their property wants the most amount of money for it. And to be honest with you, it's a pretty bloody good price for where it is.
Yeah,
you can't just take into account you got to take feelings out of the building when you. So.
Yeah.
When will the numbers for the independent assessment be released?
I'm in the next week or so.
Yeah.
So we've only got a week to go anyway. But yeah.
What are they actually looking at in the independent assessment?
They're looking at the activation with the with Safecom having the site and using it as a training hub. So they're looking at what that would do. They're looking at what council would spend in the first 2 years, which is we get the money in, and what we spend then you know, so what happens with the sale price. It also looks at what money, because there's considerable work that still needs to happen at the CFS there. So what that looks like for the community and when. So it's
So that would
those
also
types of
include the
things.
loss of economic activity.
Yeah,
as the work is
absolutely. Yeah,
being moved.
but on the other side of it,
Yeah.
it does look at it looks at the loss as well.
What about the option of just selling the CFS shed to
Yeah, it was never an option for the CFS. So yeah, they
didn't want that option.
If this proposal did fall through, would the CFS still likely look at purchasing it?
I'm not aware of what they would do.
Before the session ends and while public gallery is here, I'll go through what my proposed alternative is. But in there, I can, like I said, I rang and spoke to Safecom through CFS to try and get clarity around both use of the building, but also timing. Like I know, you know, as far as government is concerned, the money's sitting in the account to pay if we went ahead. My question to them was, well, you know, how long can you keep sitting on that? So in other words, how long have we got to talk with the community and see what happens to either make a positive or a negative? They're not able to give us a concrete guarantee, but if it was in this financial year, they feel pretty confident. Even with the election, bearing the election's going to be in March, but it's pretty unlikely government would change. But in a new financial year, new priorities, new whatever, not so easy to, you know, you just take your chances. So that's not a guarantee, but it's quite likely, and I'll read.
We'll do it then. Yeah.
and do they look at the cost of the same as we are comparing?
What's that? Sorry.
Are they looking at independent analysis? Are they looking at how much it costs to stay as we are?
Well, yeah, because everything's based on the gain or loss. Yeah, based on the activities.
What it is going forwards, like
Yeah.
it is, what it is if we change,
Yeah.
what is if we do it in all different factors of.
Well, and we know what it is if we stay the same because we've got our budgets. That's nothing will change. It'll just go up. Yeah.
Then rates will just go up just as per usual.
All right.
But people want prepared to pay that. That's what.
Yeah, and
how much it is.
Yeah, and it came through there in the number 2 bit. People willing to
Maybe not everyone.
pay extra. Yeah, that's right.
The debt is getting under control now, isn't it? Like,
That's
we are doing a good job.
That's not a that's issue with our debt to income ratio.
Yeah, we just got to not spend like they did before.
Or just be smart.
Yeah, prudent. All right.
One more.
So yeah.
If some of this money was used to pay down debt, is the ability for the loans to be paid off early there, or are they a term loan?
They are a term.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would be paid off earlier, but it'll be, it'll take them from 2.9 to 2.1.
Yeah.
So where's the gain for the community?
No gain.
Yeah, to the loss. Yeah. When it's budgeted for and we'll never not pay it back.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like we're scrambling.
That was a question someone asked me.
Yeah.
So
No, so.
Well, yeah, I guess we're crossing into budgetary territory, which we've already been a lot through. But the reality is there were some decisions taken. We've got 3 short-term loans. The last report, I think, in this one is still at 0. Yeah, 2.5 million capacity, which is like overdrafts to run council because we don't have cash. We don't have any cash reserves. I think the last report we're about 131,000 down from 4 million. And so the reality is the fixed term debt is at 2.9, which is good, but it's at the behest of no cash and no reserves. So even though you don't want to go and you could pay down debt, you could also replenish the cash position, or you could create an income generating asset for the community as well. And that was what we talked about, I think, in the first meeting, maybe the second one, I can't remember, was that the potential downside of paying off debt or improving the cash position is, one, you're not replacing an asset with anything tangible, you're just putting money or lowering debt. And the reality is then that can be reborrowed and respent. That's right. At a click of a fingers, and not necessarily on something that's going to be long-standing and long-lived, like an asset as a building. So
What asset would you envision that would produce income?
we we said at the time that you'd have to go through a whole nother thing. If this ever progressed, you'd have to go through a whole thing of what would you do with the money. But I certainly not flippantly, but said at the time we had the EOI out on the caravan park. Didn't know how that was going to go, but it wasn't looking great. I said, well, if you had the money, what a good way to build an asset that would be owned by the community and generate income for the community. Doing something like units out there, the caravan park. And as it turns out, I think we've got our report, which is not, that was public, wasn't it?
No.
No, there you go, can't talk about that, sorry.
Yeah.
But that's an example of something that could.
An example of something as well that we would do the consultation process again.
Yeah.
No, I was just
And go,
curious if you had any ideas.
Got options. This is what we think.
We mentioned that one of the first meetings, just to say, look, you wouldn't want to whittle it away on something of no value to the community as a long-term asset. And if you could create one that had an income generation capacity, it'd be even better.
But also,
That's my thought. It's like, just because if we did go with this and we got 800 grand doesn't mean we should just spend it for no good reason. And
No.
do it on something that's going to give us depreciation back again. That'd be pretty dumb to do. So,
yeah, that's right. And having it also opens up grant funding as well, where we're not having to dip into and take away from somewhere else, because a lot of grant funding's tied, and not tied, but it's co-funding is the word I'm looking for. So if it's 50%, whether we would just be able to get out there and actually have a look now instead of we can have a look, but I hope that there's a stipulation that it says only regional only has to put in 10% or something.
Yeah.
It just
Good luck. They've got
yeah.
all 50-50.
Yeah. Okay. For CFS specific concerns, and this is a bit of what David was mentioning before. So CFS don't need the whole site. People said a couple of times, 13 times. And the long-term faith in the CFS ownership. And again, this comes back to the sort of the empty Main Street one as well. In the CFS ownership. So it was what happens if they leave, and what happens. Well, we don't know. But I could almost guarantee, and I can say it on camera, but I could almost guarantee if something happens, it'll be ours again. So a key consideration would be misunderstanding of the SafeCom operational plan. And again, we haven't had a whole heap from them. It would have been great to go out and say, here's the sale, here's the proposal, here's everything, here's what it's costing. All of that would have been fantastic. But they're not willing to do that until decisions are made and sales contracts are signed.
Yeah, didn't give us much.
Well,
Yeah.
I want to be careful we're not throwing people on the bus here. I'm not sure what we officially asked for, but Shane did come to the first meeting with a paper plan of what was there.
Yeah.
Because the reality is the Lameroo office externally doesn't change at all, other than colour and banner probably. The front facing part of the CFS doesn't change, but it was the potential for what would be developed for the drive-through shed and the extra bay. Was the change.
Yeah, okay.
So it's been reported several times that, building a new thing, well, it's not, that's why they want the building, because the building is actually fit for purpose for them.
Yeah.
It's just reallocating what was a dentist surgery to I think it's a decontamination and change room, if I understand it correctly. But that's internal, not external.
Yeah. So do we need, and that's my questions about that. The key considerations, misunderstanding of the plan, maybe not. But fear that SafeCom may not maintain or utilise the building long term. So that's stuff that can be, the maintenance can be fixed in a sales contract. We can be quite strong about that. What details are missing from the public understanding, and do we need to get some sort of information from SafeCom about their plans, and just being what to go with
these plans that Shane had, there'd be no reason why we shouldn't be asking for a copy of that to this is what they're talking about.
Yeah. Right.
And suggested it.
Yeah, so the alternatives there is an alternate site for the CFS, remove the office part from sale, and again, all staff at the Lameroo office. Have I doubled up there? I think I've probably copied that across.
The last one we did.
Yeah. So yeah, so CFS don't need the whole site. Well, it's not. That's their offer. That's what they said they need. Safecom. Yeah, sorry.
I think that's the important.
That's right.
CFS need the Lameroo station.
Yes.
Safecom need the
other ones.
yeah, incident response.
Yeah.
And they're under the same umbrella. They're under the same minister, but it's two individual purposes.
Yeah. Anything else on that? Anyone? No. Okay. I think this is the last thing we've got. The infrastructure and the toilet block concerns. So it came through in the second public meeting about a perceived safety risk if a new toilet block was down that end, closer to the roundabout. Also worried about the parklands as well, and that's the thing. The parklands are ours, so we will continue to keep maintaining that as we do at the moment. And an alternative there is leave the CWA building where it is. So the safety risk, I've had a cursory look at that, but I don't want to comment too much on it because it's not my area of expertise. I want someone to tell me yes or no, but I don't think so. Having a toilet that close to the roundabout, and the community view has come through, and we know all about it, about the people value the existing toilet block despite its condition, and then there's concerns about the location, safety, and function of replacement toilets. So the discussion I've put forward here: is there any design or placement options that alleviate the concerns, or is it, or not?
I think if the toilets were shifted, I think truckies pull up there and then they cover the toilet and then go across the pub or the shop, and then the bus pulls up there too. And if the toilets put down further, the buses wouldn't be able to pull on there, and truckers wouldn't be able to go there, I suppose, too. So
Might be good for him to go for a bit of a walk though.
yeah, I don't know, but yeah, when the bus pulls out, they wouldn't want to walk past the pull it out by Tom State.
I guess there's probably concerns though with kids going to those toilets as well at the moment. Yeah, I think the thing. I think whether this proposal got up or not, I'd advocate for Lameroo to get new toilets anyway, because I know some people in the community value them, and they are in usable condition, but they're not that nice. They're not up to modern sanitation and accessibility standards. Like,
Yeah, we've got.
I think we should do something about it.
We've got advice that it's about $100,000 that needs to be spent on as well, to not, and that doesn't necessarily fix the disability. That's the concrete cancer. That's the everything else that's got going on in there, for a refurb, because I don't think I would doubt they've been refurbished since their inception.
I think just to that, and not saying either way, but just as a point of information or memory, right at the beginning of term, it was, if I recall correctly, there was a double toilet block, so 2 toilets that were going to go down next to the playground as part of the main street proposal, along with another building and various other, where the CWA building is, that was going to be another building and so on. That project had blown out of all proportions, so there was no money left to do those things, and we weren't willing to borrow the amount of money that would have been needed to build that next stage, which would have seen the CWA hall move to Burnpug. Yeah, I was trying to think of the other name for it. And that second toilet block would have meant at that point there'd be 2 toilet blocks. There'd be the one up by the CFS, and there would have been 2 toilet block down at the playground. Certainly in the discussions, and I said to the people at both meetings, was that there's undoubtedly numerous occasions of young kids in the playground not being able to make the toilets because they're too far away. Now that's not saying the other toilet block should disappear and another one goes there in its place. It's just a statement of fact. That's what's happening. So truckies and people on a bus can walk. Kids that have been playing the playground that are toddlers can't get there, and they're pulling up and having to have a pee stop somewhere along the way. It's just a reality. Well, I guess it's just trying to put context to the public amenity that was created. It is a fantastic space, and most of these submissions support that it is a fantastic space and well received. And primarily, it's getting people stopping at the playground. That's its primary function, and that is straight across the road from the cafe. So that was the argument about the toilets, was to have the toilets across the road from the cafe and next to the playground. The other argument, which has been put and was put again when we were at the CWA by one particular lady, was that the bus pulling up, there's no bus park for it to pull up, which there isn't. It's pulling up across traffic. The trucks are pulling up across angle parking as well. There's no provision for them to park. So, you know, those things don't have to be mutually exclusive, I guess. So again, just not trying to sway, just saying that that's the reality. There was already going to be a toilet block and it was stopped because there was no funding left for it.
I'm not sold on getting rid of the CWA building either. I think that adds to the streetscape there. Like, I know it's old, I know it's got some issues and stuff, but I'm not advocating we spend 200 grand on it, but maybe it still has a life for a while for its current use. Like, I've driven past there, there's been quite a few people using it, so I still see value in that building.
What about with the ATCO? Even if it was to go ahead, the ATCO, how was that is?
Oh yeah, there's a number of, yeah.
I think we can incorporate a new toilet and the CWA building in the same plan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, careful rolling too many things into this. That's a piece, as we've committed to them, we'll go through once the final report is in with the quotes, but it was significant spending that needed because it's not safe, and they themselves understand and agree with that. And it's, what do you do about it and how far do you go? So again, not saying you should or shouldn't, just that's the reality of the situation. Has been, it was always deferred until the lease was up. But if that building was inspected, it wouldn't be deemed fit for use. For disabled access, for the floor is just about falling through, stumps are moving. There's a whole raft of issues that need attention. And yeah, doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. And that's, yeah, I'll talk to that later.
Is there a report on the CWA building?
Yeah, there will be. Yeah.
That's being done in the tranche of work that we do.
Yeah, it will come through in hopefully January.
That's on the kitchen, the wiring, everything.
Yeah.
Whole lots.
Yeah, that's probably a different topic to this, but that's just my building.
For what it's worth, I think it's definitely not nice at all. Right. Next. So I mentioned about looking past the data as well. And I love data. I like to find it and get it and use it for decision making, but also it also needs to look at the feelings I've mentioned. So there's 4 overarching insights that I got through reading the 90 odd submissions. So 1, we feel rushed and want more information. 2, we're protective of Lameroo's identity and services. Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think anyone in here wants to see Lameroo go anywhere. That's for sure. A big thing, we fear losing economic activity and activation in the main street. I've mentioned that before. And then the big one as well, I think once we pick through a lot of them, we worry council will make a long-term decision on incomplete data and not have enough and feel like a rash decision. So that's what I've got for the 4, for what I think this submission process, if I could distill it down to sort of 4 things. I mean, there's other bits about it, but I think that's what we need to address there.
This is going to be the final decision, isn't it, this time?
Well,
more or less.
Yeah, eventually. Yeah, eventually.
I mean, whether it's 4 or again, there will be, that's right. It has to be, because for the sake of the community at large and for also future direction of councils to follow, there needs to be a clear understanding of what it is that we're here to achieve on behalf of the people. Yep. And again, that's something I'll read out because I think there's a way to achieve both of those things.
I think the sentiment that they feel rushed and want more information is a very valid sentiment. Like, we've known about this potential thing for 2 or 3 years now, and it's been kept in confidence because that's how we have to deal with it. But I guess it was a bit of a surprise for the community. It's only been out there for a month, so.
But the main building, that wasn't. We weren't aware of that. That's going to make an offer on Otherwise,
think we-
when they've never done all the improvements to it.
I think that's been talked about for quite
We
a
have-
while.
That was before. That was your
That
term
was the term,
before
yeah,
this last 2
yeah.
years.
Yeah.
That was your last term when you approved all that money to be
You know
spent
when
on
you
it.
improved all the money to spend on it? It's part of your vote. You were
Yeah,
there.
we didn't know the CFS wanted it, eh?
Well, no.
No, because that wasn't on the table then.
I know, it's only come on the table in the last month or two, so.
No, years ago,
Oh,
this term of council,
yeah, that was.
you made the decision in the past term to spend the money on that building. This has only come about since we all came in here as councillors.
And realistically, post-COVID, which is when Safecom and cross borders have
So that
started
was a
doing their
redundant
reevaluation of what the world needs to look like. Sorry.
So that was a redundant conversation.
Yeah.
So do you want me to do my?
Oh, I think,
So the worry about the council making a long-term decision on in-flight data, I was probably concentrating on that one. Thinking, well, long-term, it's possible that we combine with Coorong or Karoonda, and it'd be make much more sense for the office to be there.
Wouldn't have three councils
If
that
we-
can't afford anything to be.
If we combine with all of them, we won't have an office here at all.
that's
Yeah,
right.
maybe not.
Yeah.
It'll be Taylor Manor.
Both
or
of them
Murray.
might go and then we'd get nothing from it.
Yeah.
We'd
I don't think
be
we-
like Murrayville is to Mildura,
What is it?
red-headed stepchild up there. They get nothing.
Yeah, I wouldn't be making decisions on amalgamation.
No.
I'd be, resisting amalgamation as long
Mhm.
as.
Yeah, I
as
agree
long
with
as-
that.
Yeah, just just for this, just like what's going on right now, we've got people here that can actually do it, can actually have their hand in what happens in their district. And if we're out of Murray Bridge, what's going to happen? Yeah, representation is the word I was looking for.
In mayor's forums and in meetings with ministers, both federal and state, conversations that I've had have been very much around local government is about representation, representing the people, collecting local tax and spending our local tax locally on local priorities. The savings that can be found in back office, back end work in, and particularly with the advent of AI and IT services and shared services and all manner of things, there's ways of getting the benefits of or perceived benefits of amalgamation without actually amalgamating and getting rid of your decision making and your representation, because that's the piece that's critical. And that's where Murrayville felt completely left out because they no longer feel they've got that. So I think it's really important to make clear that, you know, the financial sustainability piece that we're doing about trying to find 10% savings, $1 million, and save ratepayers increase of 20% is about exactly that. How do you do that without losing your council and your identity and your representation? Because probably at some point, it may be inevitable. I mean, at some point, a government may just do what they did last time. But I can tell you there are councils in other states that are just de-amalgamated.
Yeah, that's right.
Who had been amalgamated and they've now split back up again, because it's not the panacea that people think it is. There are other ways to try and find enough savings to not increase rates to a point where ratepayers can't bear it.
It'd be nice if the state government
bear it.
stopped taking money off us.
Yeah, they're doing that every week.
Yeah.
The local government association is not talking amalgamation; they're talking shared services. So they're more, how do we combine everyone's IT? So why are we paying all? Why do we pay?
The things we've been talking about for 3 years.
When how do we run? Can all be run centrally? Payroll, finance, all of that can be done like shared services after the state government. Yeah. They're talking more about that than,
Which is not a perfect model, I might add, but
No.
it achieves an outcome. But the problem is, what do they want to get out of it?
So the next one I've got, finally, we probably don't need the last one, is just the 8 supporting submissions we had, 8 plus there was a couple more with some positive aspects in there. Is there. So there was, people were happy to hear that it was going somewhere, going to something like the CFS. They were happy that the CFS or Safecom were getting it because of the community benefit from having that service in the main street. People just thinking, two sites. That's inefficient. That doesn't seem right. One was, three of them were talking about this, it's a positive relocation of the toilet block. People think it's a good idea, a couple. And then you've got two people there at the end. So getting all staff together. And then one person mentioned that they think the Lameroo office precinct will continue to thrive. So, I mean, that's the sort of messages we've been putting out, but yeah, just wanted to note it, that there was on the other side of it. I did have some other questions at the end there, but we don't think we need to go through those just yet. If you wanted to talk about that, if anyone wanted, everyone wanted to talk about the positives there. And
I just got a question. If we do go out to further public consultation, the method for getting public feedback, will that be the same? Yeah. Will we, David mentioned possibly a letter drop. Will you be doing that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, yes. Yeah. I think, it's obvious. Yeah.
Everyone wants to get to.
Yeah. That we can streamline the information, add a little bit extra.
I think that's a good idea, because there were a lot of feedback I got was that not everyone knew about this.
Yeah. Do it throughout the whole lot.
Things worth pointing out in there, I won't speak for other councillors, but I've received numerous phone calls and had many conversations, and some have been negative and against, and as we already know, and I've sought out some of those people to have conversations with, but there's also been more support than you might think, but it's, I guess the best way I can put it is support is silent. A lot of those people have said, look, I just don't want to stick my head up. I actually had someone say, look, it's I'm not permanent where I am. There's no way I'm sticking it up because it might hurt my outcome. That's not a reason to make a difference. If they don't put something forward, you can't count it. But it's certainly to Neville's thing, 99% of the people are against it. That's not correct. It's just not. Now that's not to say that we shouldn't give weight, and we are giving weight to the 98 submissions or the 92 submissions that we said all along we should listen to those, and we are listening to those. And certainly what I'm going to say soon, we'll take that into account. But it's the community has a broad set of views, and they range from we should amalgamate with somebody to we shouldn't change anything. That is the breadth of view across the district, and they're all valid because they're held by people who have their own reasons for feeling that. I think it's really important.
I wrote down as well, I had 17 phone calls and wrote down, for and against, and it was a majority was for. I mean, we're in Pinaroo, but
But I think it is important to highlight, as it was before, that there are people from other parts of the community who don't agree with it, who aren't Lameroo either. So there's support and the opposite in all parts of our community. So
We come through strongly. That was just, there wasn't enough information.
Yeah.
Enough information out there, enough figures for people to analyse, and more time.
Yeah. So you follow on from me. So my council report, and I'll speak to it in a couple of hours, but it was pretty obvious about pushing it out when it was. I left the option not to, but it was pretty obvious that we need to push it out. And then definitely based on the conversations here today is about having mail out and pushing it out. I've said 21 days just because that's what it needs to be. But that's a minimum. So that's whether it goes to January or February or March or whatever is up to you guys as well. Yeah.
Only gets us through Christmas, New Year's, and
That's right.
holiday period.
Right. Yeah. And I'm only back on the 14th.
Yeah.
So you've got your business if you want.
I do, but also want to just mention that, and we haven't all met. This is our first time. We've had various phone conversations, but we're not going to litigate why people weren't at the last consultation. But it was not a good look for council, and it wasn't well received by the public that only 2 of 7 councillors were there. That wasn't great. We didn't actually know ourselves. We assumed people were on headers and the like, so that's what we said, and it turns out with some research that's not necessarily correct either. We weren't trying to deceive people. We were Johnny on the spot. It was like, where are they? We were madly sending texts going, holy shit, we're on our own. I don't.
Yeah, I fully intended to be there, but it just things just happened.
Yeah, look, and I'm not, you know, like I said, I'm not.
We went to the first one that was organised.
Yeah.
Went to that one. I was 100% there.
Yeah.
But I've got farming to do. Like,
Yeah.
I can't just drop
So I
everything
wasn't-
all the time.
As I said, I didn't want to litigate it, but I wanted to express that was the feeling in the room wasn't great because of that. And, you know, it's our job, my job, and Chris is there and Deputy Mayor to take it on the chin, and we did. And we did our very best to represent what was there. So that's really a comment more than anything. When I tried to make the point all the way through that the process isn't fantastic by the Act, the way it sets it out, and the fact that we're constrained. Until we had an offer, we actually didn't have anything. We had a maybe something's happened, maybe something wasn't. And unfortunately, that maybe dragged on for 2 years. Once an offer came, it was a matter of weeks, and Jason had created the draft site and gone live with the information. We have undoubtedly missed the boat as far as how to share information, what to do with it. And I said to Jason quite plainly, there's always been an apprehension in the administration to do direct mail out, but we need to take that on board and say that is the way to do it. The question is going to be, is that a mailbox drop or is that a ratepayer mail out? The mailbox drop, such a small percentage gets, and that means it goes in everyone's mailbox. As we know, junk mail, most of it ends up in the bin and doesn't get read. If you send something to the ratepayer, they'll receive it, but we know a lot of the rates get paid by single entities, so you're not getting to the people that are probably living in those things. So there's a bit of a, maybe you do both, I don't know. So there's that question. When I read the agenda and I read the recommendations, I just wasn't on board with them. So I planned to move an alternate recommendation tonight. That's moving. It needs to be seconded and voted on, or it doesn't. That's entirely up to the chamber tonight. So we're not making a decision, but I think it's important to say what it is. I certainly took away that we could have done this process so much better with so much more information. I agree the timing is shit. We don't have control of that. If we had held this information for 3 months and waited until harvest was over, we would have been copying it for not releasing the information. Just didn't have a choice. So we'll learn from that. And I think Jason's done some good work in saying how we can do that. So what my alternate motion would, or recommendation would be, is that it reads that council, 1, receive and note the outcomes of the community consultation undertaken to date regarding the proposal. 2, defer a decision so this proposal can be incorporated with other sustainability measures which will be taken to a public vote. So the big stuff that we've been talking about and doing all this work about, and there'll be a motion without notice come tonight's meeting as well, saying that we've been waiting for 3 years, but certainly the last 12 months to actually get all this work to say what we believe all the infrastructure needs. So that is the detail about how much we've got to spend on roads, what do the buildings need, what do the tree verges need, what do all the stuff need. And the only way to effectively manage that would be an actual community vote, because you're talking about, do you want to raise the rates and pay for this stuff? Do you want to raise rates and save money and pay for this stuff? Do you want to not do any of it and just keep the status quo, do the best we can with the limited resources and just let things deteriorate as they do? Or do you want to amalgamate and do boundary realignment and do something else? For me, that's the motion I'll be putting later. But what this does is say, put this in that same piece of work so that every ratepayer gets a vote, or every rateable property gets a vote. And it will be democracy wins or rules, whatever the actual vote is of the people, not the councillors, the people. So defer decision so the proposal can be incorporated with other sustainability measures, which will be taken to the public vote. 3, advise CFS, Safecom and Renewal SA seeking an extension of their offer to the 30th of June, understanding that financial year crossover is a problem for government. 4, continue with revocation of land use as a business of council is and has been conducted on site, which is not community use, it's a commercial operation. And that's not the sale part, that's just the actual land use is wrong. It's not a community building, it's actually an office building. And that should be changed, should have been changed before. And 5, council undertakes to direct mail this outcome to all ratepayers so that we actually go out and say, if this got up, this would be the outcome of the motion, that we would defer the decision this is what would be happening. And of course, the second piece would then explain what the other bit of work is and how that would all come together. But what it would mean is this decision would not go in isolation. It would be part of the bigger piece and people would actually vote on it. So that'll come tonight in the meeting. It's not something to be, voted on now or anything like that. But it was, to me, it was giving the things that people wanted, which was 1, time to consume, 2, more information, and 3, actually putting the decision directly in their hand. And that would be by some kind of independent vote run, not by us.
When do we go into caretaker mode?
When's it?
Yeah, council. Yeah, it's in November.
November next year.
Yeah, but isn't it the 6 months before we can't make any decision? Until August, September. Yeah.
That's what I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's very-
Late August, September.
Okay. Just to further explain that, I guess, just so you've got the suite. So the motion that would come out tonight is about actually putting all of the recommendations in place so that council had a clear objective of what they needed to achieve to make this happen, the timeframes that it would need to be out, because this would need to be out for public consumption. I'm not going to say consultation because I think there needs to be more direct than that. It would be inviting business people in and talking to them, going over it with them, making it all accessible to the broader public. But that council, in this report, council say to us, or the administration has said, that our asset reports, both roads and buildings, are due to us. Sealed roads and buildings, I think, in January, unsealed roads in March. Now we're going to be in budget prep then, so it would mean logic says that this budget would be the same as the last one, in it being no big moving objects. It would be quite normal and just austere and just kind of deal with what needs to be dealt with. If the vote can be in place so that the outcome is known so that Safecom can know by the 30th of June. So I think I've put in the motion by the 20th or something like that of June for the vote to be completed, with a 3 or 4 month period where we're consulting with the public and giving them all the information they need, answering their questions, and come up with that. It puts a timeline on it for council. But then what happens is, again, the motion may not even get up. I mean, that's up to you guys. But I've put in there 4 clear levels. One is to do all the work the way that all the modified plans, road building, asset management plans would stipulate, and just simply pay the additional rate to do that, which I think is unlikely, but that's option 1. Option 2 would be to do all the work the way the plans do and stop degrading the roads and the assets and do everything that's needed, but do everything we can through the Sustainability Committee to reduce operating costs, hopefully by 10%, so $1 million, and that's probably half of the money we need to deliver that work. Option 3 is to do absolutely nothing differently and to just keep doing what we've been doing for the past decade or decades, and just do CPI and try and do the best you can, and set option 4. The reason for that in that time frame is that will inform the long-term financial plan that we lead council with for this term. So we will have time, if that's done by June, we then have the next quarter to be able to finalise a long-term financial plan in line with whichever one of those options the public vote on. So if they vote for 1, 2, 3 or 4, there'll be a long-term financial plan to go with it, because we found, and I'm quite honest about this in the motion, when we came into council, we didn't find that the long-term financial plan and the asset management plans were actually dealing with the assets properly. And that's the work we've been doing for 3 years. So it means that it would be lockstep with that. So I know I've spoken a lot on that, but it's trying to explain that puts the information and the power in the people to vote, including yourselves, because you get a vote as a person, as a ratepayer. And democracy will tell us, and that will set the direction for future chambers and council administration, because the people will have spoken. We want to do it that way, or we want to do it this way. And then when you come into council, you have a very clear understanding about what it is people as they actually want. Everybody. The only thing I don't know about is whether we can make a compulsory vote. I don't know that we have that ability.
No, we don't.
And that would worry me that, 20% people don't vote. You still don't know what they think. Because
Well, as long as everyone knows, and they can.
Well, that's right.
Yeah, but you can only do your best to get the information out there.
That's-
Like,
So that's,
Well,
I'll put that as a recommendation, and then later on there'll be quite a long-winded motion that does all the steps that are needed to achieve that, so that everyone's clear. I ran both past the CEO. This is not a surprise to him. We've communicated about this afternoon while I've been trying to work it all out to say, are you happy with it? Does this make sense to you? Not because I'm looking for his approval, but I'm not trying to blindside administration. But I couldn't do it in time for the agenda, because until you get the agenda, you don't see it. Well, then you can't give 7 days notice for a motion. So it has to be without notice. So I'll leave it at that unless anyone wants to ask any questions, but that's how I see that the people get what they need, because we're talking about basically 6 months. Well, yeah, nearly 6 months. So, but you'll be making a decision on a lot more than just this.
But saying some good things there, but that's a very complicated bunch of things that have to come together in a very short period of time, and there's only a finite amount of administration resources. We are going into administration road in August, whatever. We've been waiting for these reports on financial sustainability and all the roads and all the buildings since day dot we've been here. If they don't come through and we're waiting to put all this there and there, there's a chance that that's all going to push on.
Yeah, there absolutely. Yeah.
So I would probably prefer to keep this as a separate thing to those pieces of work. And I'm saying that I don't think we should be making a decision tonight or even next month, but I think that they should be probably kept separate. And that's not discounting that the community should have a vote or things like that. It's just the actual reality of getting things done, as we're all seeing in this town of council, is very different than what it's easy to say it. It's hard for it to actually happen. Yeah.
I think there should be some confidence. I'll let Jason speak to it, being the person who's got to deliver it. We're at the end of that long and tedious road. These things are ready to drop. And when they drop, there's already been a power of work in the background. You know, even in the presentation stuff, Jason and I have met, and we've gone to the hall and put it up on the thing to say, what does it look like? And we've met to actually, sorry, that was for this meeting, not for that one. How does the layout look? Because trying to convert government finance speak into normal business money speak, so people can
understand it.
We need to turn the statutory reports into management reports for you, which hasn't been done.
The work to develop that, you're well on the way with that.
Yeah, that's right. And I showed you that. Was it last?
Yeah,
The other thing I would just say to that, Campbell, because I think you're right, it is a nervous thing, is that I think if people voted for option 3, if that was the vote of the Southern Mallee District people, that they wanted to maintain the status quo and not change that, then this goes away, because you're not doing this. Sorry, buzz off. We're not doing this, because that's part of option 3. Option 3 is to keep the status quo. But people have to be informed about what that means and why we are so concerned about that. And that's the bit we haven't been able to do, because we are hamstrung every step of the way about what we can and can't say. You'll notice in the motion tonight, I do my very best to try and articulate the things that are of concern without saying what I shouldn't. Again, I've asked Jason am I overstepping any bounds here? Is this okay? It's okay. But it's trying to express the severity of what's coming. Because when these things come, they bring with them a financial model that pales everything we've been doing to date into insignificance. And I guess the only way I could articulate that so it makes sense is that 2 years ago, the SA Grants Commission, who distribute the federal assistance grant, use data every year to say how much they're going to distribute to each council. They said 2 years ago, if they had more money, we would get another $2.189 million. But because they didn't get the money from the government, they couldn't give it to us. The ballpark we believe that we've been bandying around for 2 years is somewhere between 1.5 and $2.5 million that we would be short to do the work the way it needs to be done to maintain the assets properly. They align. So the SA Grants Commission and us are actually pretty close together to the same. So we pretty easily can say that it's around $2 million on top of where we already are. And that's a 40% rate increase. And no one's going to cop a 40% rate increase, but they've got to knowingly be able to say, well, what do we want to do with our assets? Because it's not just roads, it's buildings, it's stormwater dams,
Because status quo only goes so far before everything is degraded to a point where it can't be fixed anymore.
Absolutely. But there are...
and we're on the way there now. So
that's it. the local government finance authority was also at the last LGA meeting where Jason drew all of his things because it's the only way you can consume the information that's coming in is to doodle, and they're very good doodles. They made the point in conversation that we're actually seen as a good credit risk because we're trying to tackle the stuff and we're taking it head on. We're actually talking about the unspoken. There are councils, and I was aware of them before, and it's happening again now, where instead of saying the useful life of a road isn't 35 years, it's probably 25 years based on what's happening in consumption, they're actually going the other way and they're pushing them out to 50 years. Because what it does is make their figures work. The roads are going to become a disaster, but it makes the figures work. What we've been, and certainly what I've been championing, and yes, I do get emotional about it or invested, is that if you do all the work, you've got all the data, it's no different to running a farm or a business. If the data tells us we should have a budget of $12.5 million, but we elect to go with a 5% increase, so it's going to be 11.1 or whatever it might be, that's okay. You can say we're not going to do $1.4 million of work, but we're knowingly not doing that work. Everyone knows and acknowledges we're not spending the money on those things that was needed. As opposed to what's happened is that our asset management plans are not in alignment with what our assets need. And so when we were bought our first and all budgets since up until the last one, we finally cracked the shell, and Jason would agree that we were bought budgets based on what the administration thought was our appetite to raise revenue, and therefore that's all the budget was brought to you, and that happens in a lot of councils.
And in all honesty, if you all stayed for the next 4 years, after the first
We're not hung.
yeah, after the first two, we would get closer to that anyway. You know, to us going here. Tell me what you think based on this.
Well, we would with you.
That's right.
And the work that we've done.
Yeah.
Our issue, sorry, I cut you off there, but our issue is that hasn't happened with the preceding CEOs.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's the problem, is that, you know.
No, because they want to do big new shiny things, so it's on their resume so they can move on to the next.
Well, not just that, there were people before that who didn't do bright new shiny things and did some good work. I mean, our cash position 5 years ago was good. We were like $4.5 million in cash and cash equivalents. We had debt of less than $1 million.
I think we're getting into topics that aren't covered.
Yeah.
I know, but I guess the question was asked though, and I think it is all relevant to this piece. But yeah, I'll accept that.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else?
Any other comments? Otherwise, we'll 5:25.
Being that we've got 7 minutes left, and I know what you said before, but is it okay to ask anyone if they've got a question they want to ask since I've been here?
I think so.
Yeah.
It's fair to ask.
Yeah.
Now I just think, well, they've done the thing to drive here.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to just ask, excuse me, did all the councillors get to read the submissions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got it's of confidential ones though, right?
Yeah.
All but 4 were released out and up on the website.
Yeah.
Is all but 4 on the website now?
Yes.
Yes. So they're all public, but there were 4 that wanted them kept confidential, and we've seen those.
And I'll put them on the consultation up tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're in here.
Oh yeah, no, they're in there. I'm just saying for the public, can they access them as well?
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely.
If they're in the public agenda.
Building in the main street of Lameroo will not be for sale, and we'll fight nail and tooth to have it stopped. We'll get around it some way.
Yeah.
Because it is a community thing, and why should we even think about that it will sell? It's just not on. I'm just bringing the strategic management plan going forward. You quote as written here, our elected members are legally bound to act in the best interests of the whole community as informed, representative and responsible decision makers. I urge you all to do that.
Yep. And
take in consideration the submissions that you've received. If you've read them all, they are.
Yeah. And I would add resolution that recommendation that I've read out is doing exactly that, because it's deferring it and putting it to an actual public vote. So I don't know how more democratic you can get than that, to give every ratepayer the vote to say what they want to happen.
there's a few mysteries that perhaps have been spoken. I have spoken to the Brett Lachlan, the CFS head honcho CEO, and he categorically, their office categorically said they never initiated this sale.
Well, who did?
I can't answer that.
Well, no, actually, well, I think I've actually stated at both of those meetings. I said it right at the beginning. I said it. I said that we went for a walk through the CFS facilities with, I think it was with Shane at the time, and they put forward that for an immediate resolution, they needed or would like the dentist surgery part of it to be able to put the decom room. They potentially wanted to put another bay on the shed, and that was it. And I asked them at the time when we were having that conversation, how long does that solution look after you? And at that time, he said, "Oh, probably 10 years." He said, we still wouldn't be compliant, but it would be better than what we've got now." And so I said to them, "Well, what's the long-term solution? Is there one?" And they went away and had conversations. I think we actually walked down and had a look through the rest of the chamber, if I remember rightly. The chamber and the officers said, "Well, you know, what else do you need?" And at that stage, they needed a level 2, correct me if I'm wrong, a level 2 emergency response centre, which is, yes, CFS, but SafeCom. And as I said at the previous meetings, that's evolved in the last, I don't know, 6 months, number of months. It went from being a stage 2 emergency response, because that's now going to be handled out of Murray Bridge, I believe.
Still is a stage 2 emergency.
Okay, yeah. But that's where, because originally it was, they were going to deck out the whole building with emergency gear so that basically the whole lot would just roll up. I was very clear about that at both meetings. So anyone who's saying anything different, that's not the case, because I laid that out on both times.
People may not have understood that.
Okay, well, that's exactly what I just said now with what I said at those first 2 meetings.
There seems to be some differences going on around all over the place. One of our fellows in the sort of group that we formed to discuss all of this rang Nick McBride.
Yeah.
Nick McBride said that he was told by the mayor that the whole town is behind this project.
No, that's not correct. But I've spoken with Nick McBride and told him that's clearly not the case. So,
well, he said at the end of his conversation, he said, "Shit, well, that's not what I knew, or that's not what I knew."
well, one of those 2 people is not representing the conversations that and Nick only rang me yesterday, day before, last couple of days, and certainly that's not the case, and he was well aware of that. So I don't know. I can't answer to who said what, but I can certainly tell you that's not the case.
Well,
but I know that
because I was one who spoke to Nick, and that's exactly what he said.
Well, then I have zero confidence in Nick then, because he had no. He had no. Well, yeah, but he had no confidence.
Okay, we ask for questions, but not to be rude about things, right? Be fair.
I can only tell you, I had no pre-conversations with Nick about it, so I don't know how he would form that opinion. He rang me after he'd spoken to you, and I know he told me, but we hadn't had a pre-conversation to say everyone's behind it. Matter of fact, the only conversation I had was with the ex-minister on the weekend, because I bumped into him, and I said, no, I think I told him there's 90 to 100 submissions that are raising quite significant concerns. So, but that's with the government, not with Nick. So.
All right.
So I think most of the community members are just very concerned about the processes and making sure that the correct processes and sections are being followed, because we can see very clearly that a lot of this is not being followed correctly. And the public just want to make sure that the right procedures are taking place, because we're very aware that it hasn't taken place correctly.
Can you show me where we haven't followed down?
Yeah, I mentioned it before. It's the revocation.
The revocation, right.
Yeah, but no, that's fair. And we're trying to, we're rectifying that.
But I think for clarity though, because that sounds to me that it's being said that the process that the administration is using is not up to spec. You said one thing about the revocation, is there other thing? I mean, this is an important part. I mean, we're talking about honesty and confidence. That's a pretty.
I believe that there's a lot of things that haven't been followed correctly.
Have you got a list?
The council will receive a deputation tonight from
Yeah,
Greg.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And we'll never open your eyes.
Yeah, I've spoken. Yeah.
No,
No, have it on board. No, that's fine.
I guess without seeing the detail, accept it and agree, but without seeing the detail, I don't know what that is. Because we have discussion, and at the end of the day, we have to make a decision, but we don't run the process. That comes through administration, so.
Most council is the same as an education department, you have processes and policies that you have to follow and.
Oh, absolutely.
Governed by
Yeah,
that,
I received
by
advice.
laws and sections,
Okay.
then I think we need to make sure that.
Cool. Yeah. All right.
All right, an example then, Ron, if I may speak, the revocation, the differences between this revocation compared to the caravan park are quite obvious. We were told then that we had to have public consultation first before the caravan park land revocation could go through, with Lachlan operating that. That's the total opposite of what we've been told here. When the revocation was put in, then we had to have section numbers, folio numbers, everything put in place. That hasn't happened
No,
here.
that's the revocation report that we've got. Yeah, I've got all of that. That'll be coming out. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
What's the difference? What's from last time, stormwater difference?
There is no difference. No, the process should have been the same. That's what I'm saying.
So was one done wrong?
Yeah, this one. That's what I'm saying about the revocation report with all the folios and all of the, the CTs and all of that sort of stuff. The certificate of title, sorry, CTs. Should have come out on the website and stuff. And yeah, I misread the advice I got that it was the report, the revocation report with all the submissions is what was sent off, when really that is still the case, but it needed to be out for 21 days first. And that's the bit where I've got it in there. Yeah, that's why I've definitely, with all the mines being, it needs to go out. No matter what, it needed to go out for another 21 days at least. And I spoke to Andrew about that too. Yeah, and owned up to it.
Well, with all the holidays and that, Jason, that's
coming
up around that, you said 21 days, well, 21 days is only going to take us to middle of January, so.
Yeah, that's right. But we'll do it longer. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. well,
Yeah,
so-
yeah. That's like I think it's from what'll happen this afternoon, it'll be longer. Yeah, yeah.
With the submissions that have already been put in, you're going to recall for submissions, do we have to?
Yeah, we will. Yeah,
We have to put them in again?
you can if you want. Yeah, we didn't know. Where does it say?
Still be you.
Yeah, those ones will still be used. Yeah, these are all still, everything that's come in that was spoken about today,
Remain current.
they'll remain current. They'll still be attached to the revocation report that goes to the minister. And yeah, so it's not like these are done now. See you later.
I think the minister's reading them at the moment anyway.
Cool. Good. Good. All right. Okay. Call it there. Thanks for coming.